Hey guys, Paul here. A long time no speak. You'll have to excuse my voice if I sound a bit stuffy. It's because I'm coming off of a cold. But I did want to talk about this and just get it into video form. This is basically a sort of triangle of TCG needs that I have devised. I'm making it sound like it's something really special. It's really not. But basically, these are the three things that I think every TCG needs to have if it wants to be maybe successful is not the best word, but certainly accessible to many people, sustainable, appealing, whatever. All right, those three things are competitive play, casual play, and collectibility. And so again, these are things that they're pretty self-explanatory, but I'll go over what I mean exactly about each one, and then we'll talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And we'll also talk about some other trading card games. And it'll be sort of an opportunity for us to think about what our favorite card games do well, where they could improve. I promise it won't just be like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Sucks and it's death, whatever. No, it's, I do want to be optimistic in this video as well. So, okay, competitive viability, I think, is the first one. And that's basically is the game fun to compete in? That's not just to say the gameplay, but also some of the systems that make that up. But gameplay wise, do you feel a sense of, is there the strategy? Do you feel a sense of fulfillment when you outplay your opponent, or do you feel like it's maybe more simple and shallow, or is it too just RNG, kind of random elements out of your control that might not be a very fun competitive game? I've heard lots of different things about competitive viability for different games, but I can only really speak to Yu-Gi-Oh! And say that I think competitively, Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be a really, really fun game. It's really intense, really high octane. It's not without its downsides, but I think playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is certainly really fun for me. Competing in it is pretty fun. But this isn't just how fun it is to compete. I also think that this still encapsulates the infrastructure, right? Is there local organized play, regional organized play, national, world? Is there sort of a system to go from each of those up the ladder, right? How's the prize support? How's the judge program, right? How is event coverage handled? There's so many different things like this that I do think sort of get overlooked. Even if a game is fun to play and compete in, if there isn't a very good system for okay, where are the regionals at? How do I go to them? How do I sign up for them? Then you're not going to really get very far. So that's competitive viability. There's also casual play, which I think is really important for any game, because there are people who want to compete and become the best in the world, or even just the best in their region, or kind of just test their mettle against their fellow player. But there are some people who just kind of want to play casually, collect casually. We'll get more into collecting as a category in a second, but just sort of buy some packs every now and again, play with their friends with weird kind of zany brews that are more so about just immersing themselves in the game, kind of coming up with a weird gameplay win con type of thing, a wild deck idea that's not really meant to win a tournament, but it's just sort of can I pull this crazy thing off? Am I playing something from an anime? Maybe for Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be an example of that, or Magic the Gathering's got the examples of I can just play a Final Fantasy deck that just is completely characters I like, or I only like playing villains from Marvel properties, so I'll just build a Marvel villains deck. Whether it works well or not, I'm just playing it. And I think that, casual play is not just in terms of what you can build and what that experience is like. That's obviously very important. But also, it's sort of a thing where how easy is it to maybe find people to play with casually, and how easy is it to sort of casually buy and open packs. So yeah. And then I think the third thing is collectibility, which is something that I feel like a lot of people, it's probably the most I don't want to say ambiguous of the three things, but I feel like it sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap. When people think of collectability now, I know a lot of people think of scalpers and Pokemon, and it's scalping problem, which is a problem, to be clear. But I do think collectability is important because it is fun for people to open packs and want to get a real chase thing, something that feels special, whether that looks special, has a high, I guess a low pull rate, and a high satisfaction, I guess, that you get from pulling it. Being able to kind of even if you were to not ever play the game at all, just have a binder of cool collectible things that look nice and feel rewarding and feel special. Games handle this in a lot of different ways. Sometimes you have these alt arts is a popular one, full art type of stuff. That's something that a lot of games do. Serialized cards and exclusive rarities and things you can only get by opening the one first edition of a product or something like that. These sorts of things, these all matter for collectability because there are some people who just want to collect trading cards and not actually play trading cards, and that is still a group that I think needs to be catered to. Okay, so now that we've established all that, oh gosh, over 5 minutes in, maybe this won't be as short as I thought it was. Okay, so how does Yu-Gi-Oh handle these, and also how do other card games handle these? So when I think about Magic the Gathering, for instance, I think that in terms of casual gameplay, it's doing really quite well. People love things like Commander format. It's just something that I see so many people play at the card shop. And what I like about Commander format for most groups is that it is a casual, relaxing experience. They go to the card shop, they hang out. You can kind of just play Commander and not care too much about the results of the game. You can kind of just like sit there. I see people, they play it over drinks and they do all these things. And like Commander just seems like it's sort of low octane. The times that I've played it, I actually had to kind of like almost learn to relax when I played Magic the Gathering. Pokemon stuff's the same way. Where like Yu-Gi-Oh kind of gets you very antsy, intense because you have to basically like ask your opponent for permission to breathe at every step of the way. Whereas with like Magic, it's just sort of like, you put your cards down, then you end your turn, and that's sort of it until you're having to maybe defend against some things. And that's it. And like I think that Magic handles casual play really well. I know that Commander is not without its drawbacks and flaws, but I just mean that like it is something that very casual players, like there are people who only play Commander and they only have their one Commander deck and they've had it for many, many years. And that's just like, that's the extent of their relationship with Magic the Gathering. Competitively, I've heard Magic the Gathering has kind of like struggled a little bit more in recent years. I know a lot of people don't seem to care for its standard format. I can't speak to that in extreme detail because I don't play it. But I've heard that that's sort of been a bit of a thing. I know that its pro circuits have waned somewhat, although when they were around, I remember hearing Magic the Gathering getting very good event coverage and very good viewership on its streams. So that part seemed fine, but it seems like maybe the interest has been waning a little bit, perhaps because like Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast has focused more on catering to the casual experience and the collectible experience, which is another place where I feel like Magic the Gathering is doing increasingly well. I don't think that Magic was ever like not a collectible game. I know they always had like alt art cards and things like that, but I think that it has gone through the roof with the advent of Universes Beyond, because for a lot of people, they get to collect their favorite characters, monsters, whatevers from different IPs. I have to admit, I mean, like, I think I got a Sonic Secret Layers that somebody got me as a gift for my birthday, which was awesome. And I'm a really big Sonic fan. I wouldn't collect them on my own, but it's still something that like, it's cool. Even though I don't play Magic, just having those cards they look amazing and they're cool. And it's like a sort of a collectible. The same goes for like if somebody wanted to just get, like the Agni Kai Azula versus Zuko thing from Avatar, right? Like it just feels like it's almost more like you could play those cards, sure, but you're maybe more so collecting them. Same with Spider-Man, same with Marvel, Lord of the Rings, whatever. So I think that like in that department, Magic's done really well. Pokemon, high collectability, pretty high casual experience. I see lots of little kids that like play Pokemon at the card shop, and also in competitive play, it actually people play competitive Pokemon. I know it seems kind of weird because like it's such a simple game, but I've heard that there's much more decision making and depth than like meets the eye. So I think that Pokemon is actually like doing really well in all these categories too. So that brings us to Yu-Gi-Oh! And where I do feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is lacking is that I think that a game is allowed to kind of falter in one area or another. Like some would say that maybe Magic isn't doing the best job in competitive play, and that's sort of been neglected. But still, for casual play, people are having fun, and for collectability, people seem to be having fun. So it's hitting 2 or 3 boxes, and that's kind of enough. I think that where Yu-Gi-Oh! Is faltering is that it is actually missing 2. Competitively, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like really good right now, I would say. Like I actually think that for the people going to YCS events, I've only heard good things. People seem to be taking it really seriously. There are more competitive resources out there. It's not perfect, obviously. Everybody still thinks that like prize support could be improved, but like the stream experience has gotten a little bit better over the years. We get like hosts and stuff at the YCS events. There's still stuff I think could be like further improved even in that department, but like competing doesn't seem to be Yu-Gi-Oh's problem, I would say. I think that the lack of a casual scene, though, is probably what really strikes me the most about like Yu-Gi-Oh's current dilemma. There's not really a way to engage with the game casually. I think that Genesis format is meant to be the answer to that, and it sort of has done okay. I think like with the recent points changes and stuff, people seem to be like relatively satisfied with it. Although I do still think that like Genesis sometimes feels like advanced format light, and I've heard that complaint a lot. It's fine. It's like it's an option. It still kind of leaves people who want pendulums and link monsters sort of high and dry. But you know, I don't. We've talked about this. Also, there are snapshot formats. There's still like Goat and there's still Edison, which some people say are casual formats. I'm not actually sure I consider them to be entirely casual though. Like I still think that people who play Edison are mostly competing in Edison, and they are very much trying to kind of min-max and optimize and like do well in Edison tournaments. That's not to say that like playing Edison is like can't be a casual experience. I still think that it's a lot more chill than like playing a game of modern Yu-Gi-Oh with all the chain links and the game states and all that stuff. But I don't think that Yu-Gi-Oh has a format kind of like Commander where you can just chill and relax completely. Like you can still play with new cards that are coming out and catering to you, but like not be at each other's throats. Like so much of Yu-Gi-Oh feels like I'm kind of at my opponent's throat and they're doing the same for me. And like when I want to compete, when I go to a regional, that's fine. I know what I'm signing up for. But I think like Yu-Gi-Oh is not a game that you can really like unwind with because of just the nature of how fast it is and how complex it is and all of that. But if it still was collectible, I think this would be fine. The problem is though, Yu-Gi-Oh's collectability has kind of been in a rough spot in recent years. Like, I mean, you can see that people aren't super excited about opening Yu-Gi-Oh product. Mainline sets have seen their market values decrease pretty rapidly. Sometimes within like a week of release, you'll be able to find a mainline set like Doom of Dimensions or Duelist Advance on like TCG Player for approaching $30 sometimes. And that's rough because like, the MSRP of these is supposed to be around like $90 or something like that. And card shops are trying to maybe sell these for like 70 or 80 and they just can't do it. And because like, why would I buy it from the card shop for this price? I can go online and buy it for cheaper. But the point is, yeah, there's not really collectability. Like when you think about what makes a Yu-Gi-Oh card valuable to pull from a pack, it's just largely playability. Like the most playable cards, usually printed secret rare, are the most valuable ones. And we don't really have cards that like have extravagant alt arts or full arts. Now, again, this is something that they seem to be looking to address with the announcement of those new overframe cards. Still haven't seen them yet, so that'll be a little ways away. But like, I think those could help. It especially depends on like what sorts of cards they make overframe cards. Like I think most archetypes, boss monsters or something being overframe would be cool. But I also think that maybe they will lean into some of the nostalgia side more, right? Like, could it be that we're gonna get another we gotta get like a dark magician girl like bursting out of the frame, right? Like that is a collectible card. A lot of people would want that. And I hate to, like have to just strictly rely on nostalgia, but I don't think that Yu-Gi-Oh has many new monsters and properties that are really like, that seem to really pull collectors. Maybe Sky Striker Ace Ray, maybe stuff like Ecclesia and Albaz, like they're sort of there, but even then, I think people still focus more on their playability than their collectability, but you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think the last like major collectible card was Dragon Master Magia, which was a good one. I mean, I think that the whole like chase for Magia was nice, but even then, like you had people who are kind of more concerned about like, well, can I just have a playable version for my Blue Eyes deck? And that's something that like Konami, they eventually reprinted it, so now people can have it, but it means that I guess if you chase for a Magia, you don't feel as good about it. So it's a tough one to solve, but those are basically the three axes of like card game, the state of like a given card game. How well is it catering to the competitive crowd, the casual crowd, and the collector's crowd? And right now, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is doing pretty well in terms of the competitive crowd. Like I'd give it like a 8 out of 10. I think for the casual crowd, I'd give it like something closer to like a 3 or a 4, maybe. And for the collector crowd, maybe like a 3 or 4. So, it's just not doing great in those departments, but other games seem to be hitting much more of a balance. So what could Yu-Gi-Oh be doing better? Well, we've talked about it a little bit in this video, but yeah, like overframe cards, that's kind of a promising look. I do still think that mixed rarity and alt arts in general would be a pretty nice way of catering to collectors. A smidge more, not overprinting so much. Like, when they did cards in QCR and then Starlight Rare, it kind of just feels like it's the same rarity and stuff like that. So as far as casual play, though, I think that's actually the bigger thing is that it's so hard to engage with Yu-Gi-Oh! Casually. I think an anime needs to come back, personally. Just because like the anime kind of almost carries with it a sense of casual play and interest because you want to play like, the anime characters' decks, even if they're good or bad. Like it's just something to pull from. I think like right now, that doesn't feel like it's the case. I've made another video about like why Yu-Gi-Oh needs a new anime, so I won't go into it too much here. And competitively, I mean, like maybe just improve the prize support, improve the streams a little bit. The stream experience is getting better, but can always be even better. Okay, I think I've gone on long enough with this. I do want to hear what people have to say about it. How do you feel about Yu-Gi-Oh's viability in these three areas? But also, how do you feel about these three areas for other games that you might play? Like, I can't really speak for something like One Piece or Digimon or Lorcana or Riftbound, but like, how are those doing in terms of collectability, competitive viability, and also just fun casual play? Please let me know below in the comments. And also, before I go, this week's episode of The Pot of Greed is going to be going up on Friday instead of Thursday. Alec is also sick. We've been at a convention. It's been a bit of a mess. So we will be back on Friday. Stay tuned for it. I promise it'll be good. Okay, see you in the next one. Pass turn.